Alright, hey guys, today I figured I'd do something a little bit different and show you my Blu Ray collection, because in the past I've never really shown my pickups for Blu Ray movies, so you guys really don't know what I own. But just a warning, if you're not into horror movies, animation, or sci-fi adventure kind of stuff, and fantasy, you're going to find my collection probably pretty boring, because that's basically all I own. I really don't buy Blu-rays too often. I'm not a huge collector. I buy them very sparingly. So with that said, let's get started here. First up is Akira, or Akira, whichever way you guys say it. I call it Akira. It's a film that I grew up, it's an anime movie, feature length. It's a film that I grew up watching when I was little. I can't really recall exactly how I first discovered it. I think I rented the VHS or something. The story was always very confusing to me as a kid, and over the years I've started to grasp it more and more. But the animation and character development is definitely what really sells me on this one. This is actually the special edition, which has become quite rare. I believe there was only one printing of this. But if you're a fan of anime, and you have not seen this film, it's almost essential that you go and check it out. When it comes to anime, I'm more of a fan of feature-length films rather than series, because it's really easy for me to just sit down, watch the film, and get everything I can out of it instead of having to devote myself to an entire series. Alright, next up is the recently released Star Trek film. And I just want to tell you guys, I've never been into Star Trek. I've never really watched any of the shows whatsoever. I've never seen any of the movies. I barely even know the main characters. But this film was excellent. It was a great way to introduce me to the Star Trek universe. I'm definitely much more big of a Star Wars fan, but I think after watching this film, I might, maybe go back and watch some of the series. It's kind of hard for me to get into a series like that span multiple seasons and years. But this was an excellent movie. Definitely, if you're into sci-fi movies, this is a must. I really enjoyed it. Alright, next I have probably my first Blu-ray purchase ever, and that's Planet Earth. I got this when Blu-rays are first starting to come out, and when I had my PS3. At the time I didn't have a 1080p television, so it wasn't the absolute best way to watch a Blu-ray, but you can definitely appreciate it now with a 1080p TV. If you have not seen this series, it's really interesting. I would recommend this to anybody. It's so fascinating to see our world, and the photography and film that they capture in this series is unbelievable. If you haven't seen this on TV, or if you own a Blu-ray player and you see this on sale, you can get it pretty cheap nowadays. Back then it used to be like $100. Watch this. Sit down with your family and you will be amazed. Totally worth it. Next up is a very early Blu-ray release that I picked up, mainly just to, see what Blu-ray is all about, and it's Apocalypto from Mel Gibson. It's a great story, great action-adventure movie, pretty long from what I remember. I think it's like 2.5, 3 hours or something like that. Very enjoyable movie. Recommend it. Here is The Dark Knight. Now, I'm not a big, huge Dark Knight fanatic like some people are out there. I've seen the movie a couple of times now, but I have to say, out of all the Blu-ray movies I have, I think this is the best looking. This looks so good on Blu-ray. It's better than watching it in the theaters, honestly. It looks phenomenal. Great story. This is definitely one that I'll probably watch, maybe once every 2 years. I'm not huge into Batman, I'm not huge into comics or anything like that, but this is a very, obviously, awesome movie. I'm sure you guys all know. Alright, now here's some horror stuff for you guys. I'm a huge fan of Romero's original Dawn of the Dead, so it's basically essential that I own it on Blu-ray. What could be better than a movie about being trapped in a mall with zombies? I mean, those of you that out there that are a fan of the Dead Rising series and you have not seen the original Dawn of the Dead, you owe it to yourself to see where that game got its inspiration from. Alright, next up is another early Blu-ray release that I picked up, 300. Like I said, I'm not huge into comics, so I didn't read the original book that this was based on, but the visual art style in this, once again, amazing. If you guys haven't noticed a certain trend with me, I love picking up Blu-ray movies that sort of have a very interesting directing style and art style to them. Alright, next up is a movie that I kind of picked up on a whim, not knowing too much about it, and I'm kind of mixed on it. I don't like it, I don't hate it. It's a recent release called 9. It's a fully CG animated film that for me, the story kind of was lacking. It stars these little sack people that are like in this human world where everything is destroyed, and I don't know, the character development and the story just didn't really go anywhere, but the animation and the world itself was excellent. So if you can tolerate a movie with some pretty lacking story elements, but if you like great visuals, check out 9. Alright, here we go. I love zombies. 28 Weeks Later on Blu-ray. I was a huge fan of 28 Days Later. 28 Weeks Later is an excellent film as well. If you're a fan of zombie films and you haven't given this series a try, It's definitely one of my favorite recent horror series, I should say. Days Later is much better for me, but I also really enjoy Weeks Later as well. And the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which some people absolutely hate, I actually found it pretty enjoyable. I've seen it quite a lot. Definitely not as good as the original, but I'd say a worthy remake, enjoyable to watch. Wall-E on Blu-ray. Now, I'm not a huge Pixar person. I really don't own... I've still never fully seen Finding Nemo, you know, the entire movie, so that just tells you something right there. But something about Wall-E, I totally love this movie. I've seen it 2 or 3 times now. I've seen it in the theater once, and I think I've seen it on Blu-ray twice. This is an excellent film. I love the story, the minimalistic approach to it in the first half, where there's really no speech at all. Second half of the movie is almost like a totally different film, but I can definitely appreciate it. If you're a fan of sci-fi, yes, I would definitely recommend Wall-E to you. Even if you don't consider yourself a fan of Disney movies or anything like that, give this one a try. I think you'll really like it. Next is The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. Now, I don't own The Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe on Blu-ray. I kind of wish I do because I really enjoy that film. The second one, I've never read the books, but the second film that they released didn't really do it for me. I didn't really care too much for it. I really liked the lighthearted fantasy tone of the original. This one sort of like took a dark turn to it. I don't know. Like I said, though, I didn't read the books, so I can't really base it on anything. But I still enjoy the world of Narnia, and this was an okay pickup on Blu-ray. And here's another early release that I picked up, and that's Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete. What can I say? If you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII, I'm sure you guys all own this already, and it looks phenomenal on Blu-ray. The animation is superb. Next up is Coraline, a film that I wanted to see in the theaters in 3D but never got around to it, so I said, what the heck, it was on sale, I picked it up on Blu-ray. I watched it with the 3D glasses they give you, and you know, the red and green cardboard ones. The 3D was okay. What can you expect from watching it with those kind of glasses on? The film itself was okay as well. I was a huge fan of Nightmare Before Christmas as a kid, so I was really interested in seeing what Tim Burton does these days, because I wasn't that big of a fan of Corpse Bride. But it was a fun film. Definitely excellent animation to it. In terms of the story, it was okay. Alright, next up is one that, when I heard they were coming out on Blu-ray, I was psyched. I couldn't wait to get my hands on this. I'll double dip, I'll triple dip, you know, no matter how many editions they come out with, because I already have them all on DVD. And that's the Lord of the Rings trilogy on Blu-ray. All 3 films with the special features and everything like that. I love the movie series, the books are great, obviously, and no matter, this isn't the extended edition, it's just the regular film, so obviously they're going to come out with another edition later on, which I'll definitely buy because I love the films that much. They look amazing in Blu-ray. Without a doubt, you have to own this if you're a fan of the original DVDs or the books. I know a lot of you are probably waiting for the special extended edition Blu-ray versions, though. And here we have Studio Ghibli's Ponyo. I am a huge Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki fan. I didn't just jump on the bandwagon because everybody else, you know, likes the movies like Spirited Away. I've been watching these since I was a kid. So needless to say, I bought the Blu-ray version of Ponyo. This is definitely not one of my favorite works from Miyazaki and Ghibli, but it would probably be somewhere in the middle between, you know, the 20 or so films that are out there. The animation looked amazing in Blu-ray. In terms of the story, it's an adaptation of some woman's version of The Little Mermaid. But if you're a fan of Ghibli and Miyazaki and you haven't seen this yet, despite what you've heard, I'd still recommend checking it out. Next up is a film that I picked up while I was at Comic-Con based on recommendations from some people. They said they think I'd enjoy it. And that's The Secret of Kells. Now this has a very, very interesting art style to it. Just watch a trailer, I can't really even describe it. But if you're a fan of animation films with a really unique style to it, you need to check this movie out. It's unlike anything I've seen before. In terms of the story, I found it pretty interesting. It basically is a tale of Irish folklore. And this kid's basically coming of age and having to prove that he's worthy of going on some quest. I saw it a little bit ago, so I can't really tell you all the details on it. But I'd recommend it more for the animation rather than the story. So check this out, check a trailer out. I think you'd really enjoy it if you're a fan of those kind of things. Next up is a film that I've bought and haven't had a chance to watch yet, and that's George Romero's Survival of the Dead. I don't really have too much high expectations for this because I haven't really been a huge fan of his more recent work like Land of the Dead and Diary of the Dead. So let's just say my expectations aren't high for this film, but it's a George Romero zombie movie. I had to pick it up, so hopefully it's okay. Also, I picked up the sequel, or the continuation, I don't know what you want to call it, to 30 Days of Night, and that's 30 Days of Night, Dark Days. I'm a huge fan of the original 30 Days of Night that was released. Like I said, didn't read the book or the original, work that the movie was based on. But I saw this in the store, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know that came out. It must have been direct to DVD and Blu Ray. I picked it up, pretty disappointed. So if you're a fan of the original and you see this, I'd say only pick it up if it's like $10, because it wasn't worth it. And what Blu Ray collection would be complete without the Blu Ray copy of the Human Centipede? Now, before all of you think I'm crazy for owning this movie, and if you don't know what it's about, check out a trailer. But let me just read you a little caption here. Famed German doctor made his fortune separating conjoined twins, now is a mad genius pushing the doctor to do the reverse. He tells the women that he will be surgically attaching them to a Japanese businessman, mouth to buttocks, one after the other, and thus will be born a new creature, the Human Centipede. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check this movie out. It was very controversial, but I'm here to tell you as a huge horror fan that this is an excellent movie. It's a really well-made horror movie that really has you gripped to see what the heck these people do, how they escape, how the heck... It's just so bizarre and over the top that if you're a fan of horror movies, despite what you've heard, check this movie out. It's really not as gross as you think, honestly. It's really not that bad. It's actually a good and well-told, unique horror story, so I recommend it. And now I just got a little stack here that's some of them I picked up recently, I haven't got a chance to see yet, and that's Video Games Live Level 2. This is the video games concert that the Video Games Live guys put on, where they play video games music to, with a projector in the background and synchronize it basically to what's going on in the background, and they just play music from different series like Sonic, Mario, Final Fantasy, Zelda, Shadow of the Colossus. I haven't opened this yet because I'm going to see them in concert soon, so I don't want to really spoil the luster. It'll be my third time seeing them. It's an excellent show, so if it ever comes to a city near you. The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, two films that I grew up watching as a kid. I still watch them to this day. Labyrinth a little bit more than The Dark Crystal, but I had to own them. I just loved them as a kid. I still really enjoy them. And I picked up Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. Fantasia is most likely, I call it my favorite Disney movie of all time, at least from the old animated ones. So this was, I've been waiting to buy this for a while, so I just finally caved in and picked it up. I have not seen Fantasia 2000 yet, so I'm interested in seeing how that is. And then I also bought the Harry Potter films. I've read, I stopped reading the Harry Potter books on Order of the Phoenix, so I figured, I've only seen the first movie, so I picked up all these right here. So when I ever do get around to wanting to watch the whole movie series, or some of it, I got them ready. And I also, believe it or not, have never seen the Pirates of the Caribbean series, so I picked up the first and the second Blu-ray releases on those. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, let me know. Maybe I'll eventually show you guys some of my regular DVD collection. But be warned, it's all horror, anime, sci-fi, and fantasy. So if you're into that and you're interested, just let me know. Maybe sometime in the future I'll share that with you. Thanks for watching.